Today we're going to be making a fall picnic, and whenever I do picnics I like to keep things on the simple side with the food, so all the recipes are going to be pretty quick and easy to make, and of course they'll have a lot of fall flavors and ingredients. So we're going to be making an apple and cheddar sandwich, pumpkin hummus, homemade apple chips, pumpkin cheesecake cups, and a really quick easy tea to take to our picnic. So we're gonna start with the apple chips. I love these so much. I used to eat these all the time when I was a kid, and I would always buy them from the grocery store, but recently I realized that it's super easy to make them from home. So we're gonna make these by dehydrating apple slices in the oven for a couple of hours, and for that reason I find that apples that are tart and firm usually work the best. So I'm using Honeycrisp. You can also use Fuji or Pink Lady. Anything like that is gonna work really well. So we're gonna want our apple slices to be really nice and thin. So I'm using my mandolin slicer. You can also use a food processor, or you can even slice them up by hand. Just be really careful. I love my mandolin slicer for this because it just makes it much easier and faster. So you want your slices to be really thin like this. This is gonna help them bake a lot faster. And when you get down to the end like this, just eat it as a snack or use it in another recipe. It's not worth it to risk your fingers. So I'm just lining a baking tray with some parchment, and then we will lay out our apple slices in an even layer. I'm using 2 baking trays because we don't want the apples to overlap at all, or else they're not going to crisp up the way we want them to. I'm going to preheat my oven really quick to 200 degrees. Next, we're going to make a little bit of spiced sugar to sprinkle on top of the apples. So I'm going to add in a tablespoon of sugar, half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/4 teaspoon of cardamom. We'll mix it up and sprinkle it all over top of the apples. These smell so good already. I'm just gonna pop them into the oven at 200 degrees for 2 hours until they get nice and crispy. Next, we're gonna make pumpkin cheesecake cups. These are a no-bake recipe. You can make them in advance, and one of my favorite things about them is you can serve them in jars. So all you have to do is put on the lid and you can bring them to your picnic. First, we're gonna make some whipped cream. I'm just adding some cold cream to a large bowl, and we will whisk this up until stiff peaks form. Now I'm gonna set this aside and grab another bowl. Then we're gonna mix together some cream cheese, pumpkin puree, maple syrup, vanilla, pumpkin pie spice, cinnamon, and salt. And I'm just using my hand mixer to beat everything together until it's fluffy. Once that's all mixed together, we're going to fold in the whipped cream. And we'll want to be really gentle and not overmix it so that it keeps the fluffy, aerated texture. I'm just going to pop this into the fridge for a minute, and then we're going to make our crushed ginger snaps. I'm using these from Trader Joe's. You can do any store-bought ginger snap, or you can make your own if you like. I would just recommend making sure that they're nice and crispy and crunchy, because a drier ginger snap I find works better in this recipe. I'm adding about 2 cups of the cookies to my blender, and I'm just gonna blitz this a couple of times. You don't need a super fine crumb. A texture like this is perfect. So I have my pumpkin mixture and my crumbs, and now we're going to assemble the cheesecake cups. I have a couple of these little jars I'm going to use. You could also put this into a bigger serving dish if you'd like. It's completely up to you, but I love these for picnics. You can scoop the mixture into the jars, but I'm using a piping bag to make it a little easier. We're gonna start by scooping the ginger snap crumbles into the bottom of each jar. Then I'm piping it into each jar and sprinkling them with some pumpkin pie spice and cinnamon. The key to a good picnic is a good sandwich in my book, and today we're making apple and cheddar sandwiches with a maple Dijon mayo. This sandwich just checks all of the boxes for me. We have the savoriness of the cheddar cheese, a little bit of a crunch and sweetness from the apples, and then that little hint of maple in the sauce gives it kind of a fall twist, and it tastes really good. So to make the sauce, we're gonna add about 1/4 cup of mayo to a bowl, 1 tablespoon of stone ground Dijon, 1 tablespoon of regular Dijon, about a tablespoon of fresh minced thyme, 1 teaspoon of maple syrup, and a few cracks of black pepper. We're gonna mix everything until it's combined, and then we'll set it aside. Then we're gonna grab our bread. You can use whatever bread you like here. Sourdough or multigrain would both be really great. I'm using a ciabatta baguette. We're gonna spread the mayo onto each side of the bread. Then we're gonna cut an apple into pretty thin slices. I like having something that is a little bit tart here, so I'm using Macintosh. Then to our bread, we're adding some smoked turkey. I'm using this plant-based one, some sharp cheddar cheese, the apple slices, thinly sliced red onion, and topping everything off with some lettuce. I'm gently pressing the top onto my sandwich, cutting it in half, and now it's time to wrap it up. I'm taking a piece of parchment paper and folding over the edge, and then I'm lining up my sandwich to go a little bit over the edge. I just like having a little peek of the sandwich showing. Then I'm lining up the sides of the parchment paper, and I'm just going to fold these over, kind of rolling everything down until the sandwich is nice and snug. Then I'm just wrapping it under the bottom and tying everything together with kitchen twine. This pumpkin hummus is made with a blend of different spices that add some richness and savoriness, and they really help balance out the sweetness of the pumpkin. It's smooth and creamy, and it's really good with veggies and crackers, and it's also really easy to make. We're gonna start by adding a can of drained and rinsed chickpeas to a blender. Then we'll add 1 cup of pumpkin puree, 1/4 cup of olive oil, the juice from 1 lemon, about 1 tablespoon of tahini, 1 teaspoon of kosher salt, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika, 1/2 teaspoon of cumin, and 1/2 teaspoon of curry powder. And then we'll blend everything together until the hummus is nice and smooth. And then we'll scoop it into a little jar. And I like to top this off with a little bit of smoked paprika and some pumpkin seeds. For dipping into the hummus, I'm bringing some carrots. I just put them into a jar. And I'm also bringing some Simple Mills rosemary and sea salt crackers. These are just my favorite cracker. I don't know if any of you have tried them, but they're really good. They have a nice rosemary flavor, and it pairs so well with the pumpkin hummus. Okay, so we're just about ready to pack up, but first I want to make a quick herbal tea that we can bring to our picnic. To a thermos, we're going to add a few apple slices, a small cinnamon stick, and a couple cloves. Then we'll add a couple bags of rooibos tea and fill the thermos with boiling water. And we'll let it steep for about 5 minutes. It's been 2 hours and our apple chips are done. They're perfectly crispy and crunchy, and I think they look so pretty. All right, it's time to pack everything up and then we'll head out for our picnic.